How's it going, Edward?
Good. How are you doing?
All right. So you got a hand for us here? Where's this one coming out of?
Yeah, this is Wind Creek, Bethlehem,
Oh,
Pennsylvania,
okay. From Pennsylvania. Okay.
and it's a 2-5 game, and there's a good amount of straddling going on. So in this hand, I am in the straddle.
So you are in the hero in the straddle. Okay. And how deep are you?
We're pretty deep. It's $3,350 effective.
Okay. So 3350 effective and another 2-5 plus 10 setup, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and I have 10-9 of spades in the straddle.
All right. So hero in straddle with 10-9 of spades.
Right.
Okay.
So it falls to the middle position two player who is a buddy of mine, and he opens to 30. We have quite a bit of hours between us.
Okay.
Falls to the cutoff who calls, and then it falls to me, and I of course throw the 20 bucks in, and we are 90 to the flop after the rake.
So hero in straddle with 10-9 of spades, MP2 to 30, cutoff calls, and hero completes with 10 of spades, 9 of spades. I mean, I think that is somewhat the standard type of situation in a spot like this. But, did you ever consider three betting? I think you can sometimes throw in some squeezes here once in a while as well. It's not just an automatic sort of complete. Did you ever think about possibly three betting here as a squeeze?
I didn't, but I totally agree. Just knowing the opponent, he's pretty stationy with me, so I didn't really want to open up the betting again. And then if he's sort of near the top of his range, four bet, and me have to kind of throw this one away.
Well, I mean, sure, you can get blown off your equity some of the time, but I mean, I'm not saying that I would always three bet, but I think that sometimes people do get a little bit complacent. And maybe you could say even a little bit lazy, sometimes calling in between getting a price in the straddle when taking a direct suited connector and throwing it in sometimes as a mix can be a good thing some of the time. But okay, so three ways, $90. Okay, what's the flop?
Right. And it's a good flop. Five of spades,
Mm-hmm.
seven of spades, jack of spades.
So you flop a flush. Jack of spades, seven of spades, five of spades here with the 10-9 of spades here in the straddle. Straight flush draw to an eight of spades as well.
Right.
Okay.
So I check,
Mm-hmm.
and the main villain bets 50. The cutoff folds, and it's back to me, and I check raise to 2.25.
So MP2 C bets for 50, cutoff folds, and you check raise to 250?
225.
Oh, 225. So hero raises to 225. And in general, I will say in general, I do like, I mean, you guys know if you've been with me for a long time, I mean, I like to fast play nut flushes, but I also like to fast play other flushes here as well. And the reason why is just because, it's a combination of, obviously there are scare cards that come. You have a very, very strong hand here. Any spade, any board pair might sort of shut the action down, right? And then people tend to play like kind of pot controlish and pretty defensive, even in position on monotone boards. Now, you're not overcalling. I will say you're not overcalling. Like if it went bet call, I think that there's even more of a reason for you to raise and not overcall as a slow play because it's going to get checked through so much. So a case could be made that there could be some slow playing here because you could be calling wide, closing the action, and it is just heads up. But in general, in these live games, I like to try to put as much, try to get as much money in with good hands, I would say as possible. Obviously, you're very, very deep, but it is a straddle pot. So, you're about maybe 300 big blinds deep. So, obviously I don't mind the play. You go to 225, okay?
Okay, so the pot should be about 540.
So MP2 calls, right? MP2 calls.
Oh, MP2 does call, right?
Right. So he makes the call. So now we're at 540, like you said.
540, and a brick on the turn. It's the four of hearts. So I continue for 375.
All right, so hero bet's 375, and like one of the chatters said here, it's not like, I think it was Street Soul Lover. It's not like someone's folding like red aces or red kings to your check raise. So now you're going about 2/3 here. I would say once again, 2/3 this year. Jack 7-5 turns the 4 of hearts here with 9-10 of spades. And now you go to 375 here on the turn. And I just, as a quick question, like, are you on the flop? We'll go back to that here for a second. Are there other hands that you are raising besides flushes on the flop here?
I thought about that, and there really aren't many. I'm thinking that the times that I just flat pre-flop and not three bet from the straddle, it could be the ace of spades and a jack where I have top pair and the nut flush draw. But apart from that, probably not.
Would you ever do this with sets, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I would do this with. I mean, I only have the sevens and the fives because the jacks I would
You three bet pre.
100%
Right.
three bet pre. So I could do this with sevens and fives. Yes.
And it's somehow, too, as T. Krupta says in the live chat here, actually having Jack 7 suited that you might have completed in the straddle might be another one, too, because you block that guy having Jacks or 7s. I don't remember if you're a CLP sub or not, Edward. You might not be a website sub, but I will say that there is a hell of a hand that I'm going over on the flagship podcast coming out on Wednesday for the second part as a continuation from the encore episode that I did last week, where I played a monotone board with bottom set as a check raise similar to this board, and it was crazy what ended up happening. But I wanted to go over what other hands you might be check raising here. But here, 4 of hearts turn, good brick, you go 375, and now what does your opponent do?
So the opponent thinks for a few seconds and sort of min clicks it to 800.
Wow, raises to 800. Now that's very interesting here. So you go 375 on the turn after flopping a flush and check raising to 225. Now MP2, the preflop raiser, raises here to 800. And the thing here is the pot's going to be like 1700 and it's like 425 for you to call. So, I mean, there's no way in hell. I mean, you're getting like 4 or 5 to 1. I mean, you never, ever thinking about folding, but it does get kind of weird here because the question is like, if you call, the pot's going to be like 2100. I mean, you guys still have you probably still have a pot size bet left, right? If you call.
That's right.
So did you ever think about, obviously I don't think that folding is an option, but did you ever think about just three betting it here against this min click? Because you only have a pot size bet left.
Well, that's interesting you say that because a friend next to me at the table later asked me the same question, and I didn't in the moment, but I wanted to kind of get your take on it.
I mean, I think that I can't imagine here. Well, it's such, I mean, here's the thing. I would go down this road here. Like if you were to call, and let's just say it's even that you have a pot size bet left, whether you have a little bit less or a little bit more. If you're going to call down on a brick, like say the river is like an offsuit deuce and you check and the guy piles or bets something huge and you're going to call, then I would seriously consider just like 3-betting the turn here, because if you don't 3-bet the turn to get it all in, if you're going to call down on a brick anyways, then you might be just giving this guy like a sort of a free reverse card with his equity. Like if he has a high spade and he's like sort of playing like a stop raise with like ace with a spade, or if he has a set of jacks and he's not going to bet the river unless unimproved, but he would call off. The only reason why you might just call here is if you are ever considering possibly check folding the river on a brick. Now, was that a possibility? Now, it sounds, a little bit of crush side poker or Fifth Street chicken. There are certainly opponents that might be old man coffee types, huge nits, where I might call here getting 4 or 5 to 1. And if they were to make some huge bet on the river, even on a brick, I very well might fold because I know they don't have it in them to bluff and they must have it. But that's a rare type of thing, and that's a fairly large exploit.
Yeah, I really do think that the 3-bet turn is probably the way to go. I didn't, and I did some math, and I tried to do some card removal, and basically think what better flushes can he have, and how many ace of spades, king off, queen off combinations
Right.
are there.
Right.
And so I basically went through that, and I decided, I'm just never folding here. I will call, and I think I'll just let him putting money in on the river. And the risk, of course, is he checks back.
So what you're saying is that, first of all, there are three combos of ace king off with the ace of spades and three combos of ace queen off with the ace of spades. All you have to do is take the one ace of spades and multiply it by, or excuse me, four of each, right? Because we don't share any. There's four combos of ace of spades. Well, ace king of spades would be one of the suited combos. So that would have been a flop flush. Three combos that aren't flushes of ace king and ace queen. That's six combos. But if he is opening from MB2, he might have all the ace X of spades hands, like even ace three of spades, like even ace eight of spades, right? So, but what you're saying is that you are going to call anyways. So why not just, you're going to call the river if the river's a brick. So why not just try to get him to bluff? And I guess my counter to that is that if somebody min clicks with ace king with the ace of spades here, are they really going to go for it as a jam at the end? Where just maybe this is where my live experience comes into play, but a lot of people are just calling down here across somebody that check raises them. Like if they were to see bet ace king on the flop with the ace of spades and they got check raised and they called, they're not going to min click the turn to try to set up a river bluff against what your hand is probably going to be a lot of flop flushes and at a minimum sets. I mean, that's my contention. But anyways, you call, right? So hero calls.
Right. So I call, and the river is your deuce of clubs.
Oh,
so
okay.
It is the total brick.
I did
deuce
not know
of
that.
Clubs.
Yeah. Okay.
And I check, and he puts out 800.
Just 800.
Just 800.
So
the pot's 29.40, 800 for me to call. It's pretty straightforward, and I call.
So what if he, before you tell us the result, because I think that at this point, because he's giving you such, now, well, a couple of things. First of all, what would he have done? What would you have done if he just jammed all in for a pot size bet?
I would have called.
You would have called. Okay,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. I had done the math on the turn, thinking that if this is the math, I basically need, there are these six combinations that I'm ahead of, and there's probably about four that I'm behind. I'm just going to call whatever he bets on the river, and if he beats me, he beats me.
Well, then you're getting a better price on the 800. I mean, I don't think that I'm going to fold here to 800, getting what is like almost 4-1, 3.5-1. But it is still troublesome though, because I don't know if he's value betting worse here. I mean, what do we think here, guys in the live chat? Do you think that even at 800, even though it represents maybe a 40% pot size bet, it's still a big bet? There's a absolute bet sizing thing, sort of small stakes exploit from Crush Live Poker that once the pot gets big, even though this is 40%, you look at it like the absolute bet size. Once the pot gets larger and larger, you're looking at absolute bet size. And it works the opposite way when the pot is small. If you're in a 1-2 game and someone bets $1,000, if that represents half the pot size bet, like it's still really, you're looking at the absolute bet size amount. It's $1,000 is a huge, huge bet. So I just don't know if do you think that he could ever be value betting something worse here?
No.
So you think you're bluff catching him?
Right.
Okay. So hero calls, and what was the reveal?
The famous good words. He says, "You're good." I turn over, and he actually did turn over in a little bit. He did have the ace of spades, and I think he had the queen of clubs.
Wow.
He was in seat 2. I was in seat 8, so I really couldn't. And I didn't want to press because it's a big pot, but I was good.
Wow, that is I'm very, very surprised that he ended up having that hand. Like I said, min clicking you on the turn after you check raised the flop, and then if he wants to polarize at the end, though, too, he's giving you like a better price. If you were going to call anyways, it's a lot easier for you to call. But I'm actually surprised by that result. So in essence, on the turn, one other thing I wanted to say about the turn is that if this particular hand, Ace of Spades X, like Ace of Spades, Queen of Clubs, if it doesn't bet the river when you call the min click, let's say that somebody min clicks the turn and never bluffs the river, that's another reason to jam the turn, because you're just giving him a free shot at the spade. However, if he does bluff the river, then calling might be the best play, right? Because you got more money by picking off a bluff, where if you just jam the turn, I guess he should be folding, right, with one card to come. So
right, that was my conundrum, is that if I, post hand, 24 hours later, I was thinking, if I really did jam the turn, and again, we have hours together and we're friendly, I'm pretty sure he's folding the turn, but you're never 100% sure.
Yeah. I mean, Nate Schmidt in the live chat, one of our content creators, says dude calls a turn jam probably, even though he probably shouldn't. You never know on these one liner to flushes. I've seen some crazy things. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much, Edward.
Thanks, Bart.
All right.